Yeah, nice to be here. My name is Mats Iremark. I work as a solution architect at Collector Bank. I'll speak today a little bit about APIs at Collector, and in particular, some security aspects around our APIs. I think most Swedish people in here has heard about Collector in the news, maybe done some shopping using Collector's systems, but for you and people from outside Sweden, I have one slide about Collector. We're a digital niche bank, today around 500 people. We hired roughly 100 persons last year, so we're growing really, really quickly. Our tech stack, .NET, our on-premise is Azure. That's not so typical bank, almost fully in the cloud today. We have one Mario Kart installation and one shuffleboard. I think most of the people in here are here today because it says bank. You want to know how banks do stuff, if we do it the bank way. But we consider ourselves more of an IT company, which just happens to have a banking license, which means we can do some banking stuff that are really cool. But in the office, we wear GitHub hoodies instead of costumes and ties, so we're an IT company. Sometimes, almost every day when I go to work, I feel like a little kid that's lost somehow. I'm playing around with APIs, with microservices, drawing pictures with tokens and servers and boxes, and I'm just waiting for the day when somebody comes up to me and, Mats, you're wrong. This is not the playground. We're grown-up people here trying to do some serious stuff. But Travis reassured me that that's how everybody feels. So let's take one step back. We're all here to discuss and hear about APIs. But why are APIs so important to Collector as a bank? Well, of course, we work with APIs, but if we think about it, everything that we sell today is done through APIs. Either it's the API itself that we sell, or products and services through APIs. And this is a picture that is shared within the whole company, not just some nerds in the IT department. Let's make a bold statement and say that APIs today are our greatest assets. It's the most important thing for Collector, our APIs. We use them to expose services to partners. We provide access to data, both your data that you have at ours as a customer, and our data that you can use somehow. We use it in collaboration with external service providers. We have a company called Collector Ventures. It's an investment company that invests in startups in the fintech business in the Nordic region. If they invest in a company, we want to put that company under the Collector umbrella and do something so that 1 + 1 = 3. And we cannot do that if our APIs are bad, if they are not easy to access, and if they're not secure. So APIs, super important. So what is security then, and what is secure? These points here on the slide is some of the things that we talk about internally when we talk about security every day, every week, every month. We talk a lot about not leaking information. We have APIs, we have partners, we're sending stuff back and forth over the internet, over networks, over VPN, and all possible stuff. So we want to not leak information. We work with this by using ref tokens as much as possible. I have a few slides later on showing that. But we also try to send the minimum required information all the time. Constantly work with APIs and communication so that we don't send information that we don't need to send. Send the reference to information, if possible. We also want to make authentication and authorization as easy as possible. Okay, we make authentication easy, that's insecure. We don't think that way. If you make authentication and authorization easy, people will do the right way. They will not try to cut corners and do some other way. So what we do, we try to follow the open standards as much as possible, not customize things, do according to best practice, and not do it in the basement bank security protocol from 30 years ago. Use the new modern standards. We're not experts in this, so we don't invent these flows and standards. We try to use services and products that others make here. We also have realized that we cannot prevent all attacks on us. We cannot prevent the data centers go down. We cannot prevent the Chinese government from taking down one of our APIs. But we try to minimize the damage of those attacks. We do that, for example, by having very separated infrastructure. If one service goes down, it doesn't affect other services. We do extensive logging. Everything that happens gets logged, and we can take action on it. We try to have some kind of rescue net for developers. Fail fast. Learn from it. We assume that mistakes are always made. Just don't put any blame game into it. Some time ago, we realized that security wasn't on and off. Some people think so. Either it's insecure or it's safe, secure. But you can put a lot of money, a lot of time into making APIs and everything else secure. But at some point you have to choose how much time, how much money. What risk are we willing to take? We can put all the work for the next year into security and no one can attack us, but then we won't release any features. We won't do any business. So to find that sweet spot where we have a security that we trust, that our customers trust, and allows us for rapid development speed, that's the sweet spot. I'll try to go through these 3 points, describe what we had roughly 2.5, 3 years ago, what we needed, and how we came to the point where we are today, and how we're doing it. I already said that we were growing really, really quickly. We had no enterprise architecture. We had no one sitting above and keeping track of all the teams and how they did stuff. One of 3 major big systems, towers, was built in-house. The others were bought from external providers. So we couldn't affect them very much. We couldn't control the security around them. We had some additional services, some microservices. We were very much on-premise, on the ground, with a few proof of concepts running in the cloud. We had a pretty wild area when it comes to authentication. We had all possible solutions. API keys of different kinds, basic auth, tokens, no auth. Every time a new service was built, we asked ourselves the same question again. Okay, how are we going to secure it? And we started from scratch all the time. And everything was logged to file, which made it impossible to react on things. So we needed some kind of architecture that allowed for this rapid development speed that we wanted. We wanted transparency. We wanted teams delivering APIs to feel that they could deliver a secure API, that they felt confident in what they did. Not that, okay, we implemented something, let's hope it's okay, and deliver to production. A unit test, is it green? It's safe according to our standards. And in general, just much more secure, everything. But also an easy to integrate architecture, so that this external partner, service provider, could integrate with us in an easy way. It cannot be a half-year project to establish connection. So the first step we took, the game changer for us, was to start to use Auth0. Has anyone used Auth0 here? Okay, Auth0 is basically an online service for generation of tokens. And when we began using this over a period of a few months, the awareness of security and the knowledge level in the IT department took giant leaps. We began climbing like the mountain of security. So from having no knowledge, almost every developer knew these OAuth flows, knew what a JOT was, audience, scopes, subject. And we felt that, okay, we could make an API and we could make it secure, and we felt confident about it. Speaking about developer experience, this is the best developer experience I've experienced. They have self-generated documentation. This is so good. Then we decided that we want to do a little bit more. We want to add some extra security. So we took a look at Curity, and today we run Curity in Azure, self-hosted. There were three main reasons why we started using Curity. One was the concept of ref tokens. I'll come to those slides in a little while. The ability to customize, do some code related to the generation of tokens. This is very useful for us now when it comes to PSD2. And the last point there, version configuration. We don't want a system where people sit and click on, off, right in a scope. We want everything automated the same way we roll out APIs. Build server, deployment tools, and Curity allows that. And just as much as I praise the self-generated documentation in Auth0, the people behind Curity, the company building that, they have so much knowledge around security. So our climb of the security mountain, first using Auth0, and now Curity and the company behind it, we're climbing. So to sum it up, how we're doing it today, well, we chose token-based architecture. No API keys, basic auth, it's token-based. And that's because it was easy for us to implement it. It met our requirements, and everybody at IT understood it. We could build an API and feel confident about it. We have some kind of enterprise architecture. I don't really know what enterprise architecture is. It's very fancy if you're an enterprise architect. But all the teams, we do the same about security. We have these tokens that we implement and some other guidelines. All teams log the same way, so we can find out what has happened and when. All our major systems are soon built in-house, running in the cloud. So we can have a really short development cycle when it comes to new features, to the customers and to the partners. We have structured centralized logging. That's like the best thing ever. We love Elasticsearch. Where's the guy from Elastic? Oh, he left. We have some kind of, I don't know what to call it, but startup architecture. Teams have islands. We're not connected in terms of infrastructure. There's no difference if one team, one product speaks to another team, other product in-house versus speaking to a partner. We have to have the same high standards on security. We have no one internal safe server network. We have those islands, individual safe networks. And in general, we try to keep it super, super simple. Don't buy black boxes solving every problem. Keep moving parts to a minimum. I think that was the worst picture I've ever seen in a presentation this morning. So I will speak about roughly the same things as Joe spoke about, introspection and stuff like that now. We fell in love with ref tokens. How many in here know what ref tokens are? That's not enough. So let's take this example. Maybe we're totally wrong, but for us this is important. This is the client credentials flow with a JOT. So it's basically, to the left there, it's a user or a service who wants to call an API. Okay, you go to the secure token server, you get a token with claims. This might be identification with BankID, Norwegian Bank ID. You get a token and you send that to the API. This can be over the internet, and we cannot assume that that channel is safe. The information at the bottom there's like issuer, subject, audience, scopes. That's information that we don't want someone else to have. We don't want to leak that information. There could be social security number, name, etc. in that token, and we don't want to leak that token. So what you do when you're working with reference tokens is that you start out the same way. You go to the token server, ask for a token, but instead of getting the token, the ticket back in readable text after base 64 encoding, you get just a reference. So this user, he or she gets, there is a token for you in the server, but you cannot read it. But here's a reference to it. So we send that reference to the API. And okay, if that reference gets lost, it's not such a big deal. The API then goes to the secure token server, does what's called introspection, and reads the full token. And we can control that channel much more than we can control what's being transferred over the internet. That's big for us. So finally, for the future, we're working really hard with PSD2 right now. Every API that we design today, we refactor like every API today, tomorrow, this week. Every call should be on behalf of. If one backend system talks to another, there's a token with a reference to a user involved, on behalf of. So that's like on our minds all the time. All customer information should be accessible for the customer, directly or through a third party. So we basically have this epic for all the teams. As a customer, I want to access all my information. So that's what we're working on right now. And we're working with GDPR. I don't want to answer questions about GDPR, but if you have them, I'll try. And with all these APIs and PSD2, what we're doing right now is that we're looking for this super sweet developer portal to publish them. We're not there yet, but that's the next goal for us. Thank you.